Hello and welcome, fellow Sovereigns. And I just saw a post from Denise in Brisbane about anxiety and getting rid of anxiety. And I immediately had this picture in my mind as if it was there all the time, which I don't think it was. So the picture was basically a bucket of table tennis balls, ping pong table balls, whatever they're called. They're little round things that bounce. And it occurred to me, well, it's a good illusion because anxiety won't just go. Anger won't just go. Bitterness won't just go. Feeling lost won't go. Feeling lonely won't just go. All of those are negative emotions, if you like, sit inside the bucket of our mind. And as we know, the universe abhors a vacuum. So we can't just take loneliness out, or we can't just take bitterness out, or we can't just take anger out or anxiety, because we'd be left with nothing, and the universe doesn't like a nothing, a vacuum. So one way of imagining it, as it just immediately occurred to me when I saw Denise's post, was this bucket of table tennis balls. Anxiety, that was her subject, but it might be anything else. It might be anger or feeling lost or lonely or whatever. The way to get those table tennis balls out, we can pick them out one by one, tick, tick, which can take some time. Another way is to pour in water. And what happens? The water will fill the bucket and out go the table tennis balls. And the water will be something that we do want, a positive emotion. That might be peace. It might be gratitude. And it might just be joy. It might be connection with people if loneliness is the thing. And so rather than working on the negative, which actually cements it more into our psyche, if you like, if we focus on not wanting anxiety, all our subconscious hears is anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. And that fires up those neuro pathways connected to anxiety, and we increase the likelihood or the beingness of anxiety, or the beingness of loneliness, or the beingness of anger. So what we can do instead is simply step into what might be the opposite, what might be something that we do want. And so we can wash it out, if you like, wash our anger out with peace, wash our loneliness out with connection, wash our anxiety out with great gratitude, or whatever. And I was given an image many years ago, and somebody said, how do we get rid of, I forget what it was, maybe it was sadness. Let's pretend it was sadness. And this guru-y person said, we hold our sadness in our hands, between our hands, as a pile of salt. And we simply walk to the water, the lake, the river, the beach, and we lower our hands in. We allow our sadness to dissolve in the sea of peace. So there's no beating ourselves up and hard work or kind of anxious stuff to get rid of what we don't want. It's a very peaceful lowering our salt, if you like, our salt of the tears, if you like, into the peace of the water, and allowing the water to do the work. And which is pretty similar to the image that I just got when I saw Denise's post. Just this image of water washing into or being poured into a bucket of anxiety. And the peace or the gratitude or the connection or whatever it is that's being poured into the bucket will simply rise and rise, and there's no room left for anxiety, for loneliness, for lostness, for any of those things. And so it doesn't have to be a great anguished, painful process to undo that which we do not want, to undo that which we wish we didn't have, sadness, loneliness, whatever. It's a very gentle allowing, and simply allowing what we do want to wash away, to fill ourselves so full that there's nothing left, there's no room left for, if you like, the badness, for the negative emotions that we're going through. And people talk about going out in nature and enjoying a sunset, or just hugging a tree, or sitting under a tree, or walking in the water. And when we're doing those very simple things, we are present. We're present to that tiny moment as our feet go into the water, as we lay against a tree, as we watch a sunset. There is a moment when there is nothing else but that sunset. There is nothing else but that tree. There is nothing else but that water. And that's filling ourselves with whatever it is: serenity, peace, joy, happiness, contentment, connection. And it can be as peaceful as that. And every time we feel anxious, we can go and have a salt bath, maybe. Have a coffee, watch a comedy, go and message or talk to a friend. It doesn't have to be this, I was going to say angsty, but it's not a word, is it? Angst-ridden process of psychological fighting to the bottom, and what happened, 100 years ago when my father did this, or whatever. Something happened in our past. It doesn't have to be a painful undoing. It can be the simple allowing in of what we do want. And that goes, if you like, for the bigger world as well, not just our personal angst, our personal negative emotions. It can go for what we do want in the world. So when we see the insanity going on, we're filling ourselves up when we're anxious about it. We're anxious about politicians and media and scientists and all of that who are spouting forth. And we can fill ourselves up with that. Well, we do, almost automatically. It's like a default. And so we have to deliberately, because it's not necessarily a default, we have to deliberately then fill ourselves up with something positive, with something joyful, with something easy and comfortable, with something less anxious. And that might be a walk at the beach, a walk in the forest, just a walk along a city street, go and pet a cow or a cat or a dog or your neighbour. So when the world gets too much for us, it's a sign. We say, I'm up to here with it. And in a way, we're literally up to here. We're full of negative emotion. And it might be angst about the world. It might be angst about our own personal feeling of our place in the world. Why am I here? Whatever it is, no matter how big or small, particularly the issue, it's all the same. It's simply a returning to peace, a returning to joy, a returning to love, a returning to integrity, a returning to connection. Whatever it is we'd like to fill ourselves up with, we simply choose to pour that in. And we'll do that in whatever way works for us. And there's 100 ways of just filling ourselves up with joy and love and peace. And silliness. It's always one of mine. I love the silliness. And that's it. Keep it simple. Keep it sweet. There's no need for hours and days and weeks and months of psychoanalysis. We can do this in every moment. We can be our own therapist. And I'm not knocking psychologists and counselors and all that, and they all have their place. I've been a counselor and life coach. They all have their place. But when you don't have that around you, you can be your own counselor. You can be your own psychologist. You can be your own mentor in this world. And so I simply wish you peace and simplicity, and knowing that we can all top ourselves up with what we need. When the world gets too much, when our mind gets too much for ourselves, we can always fill it up, and all of the negative just floats away. And what we're left with is that which we desire, which is pretty simple stuff. And so accordingly, the process is a pretty simple process. So I wish you simplicity and a washing out of that which you are not. And I bless you and all who sail in her.